everyone. Today we're going to start a small Tableau demo, and then I will show you how to create a graph in Tableau. So first, I got our fractional superstore data right here that I already input for you guys for our demo, and that has the data shops across the world. So today we'll be acting like an analyst and try to figure out some insights on our sales and profits. So the first graph that I would want to achieve is the sales seasonality. We will want to achieve something like this. So let's get started. So first I will drag the order dates into the columns and then turn it into months because we want more detailed data. And then we will like to drag our sales right here. So we actually, what we get right here is the aggregate sales data toward each month. However, we want to look at our performance on each different year. So we can drag the order date into the color marks right here. So this one is actually called the mark card. So then we can have different years data right here. And then let's do some analysis that we can see that the July and October data is actually quite low. So maybe that we gonna do some promotion activity on it. So, and if we want to comment on our analyst, make a comment on this graph, we can right click and then choose the annotation. And maybe we want an area annotation. And then we can say something like the sales fallen in July and October. So we might start some promotion activity right here and click OK. And then adjust it to the proper area that we wanted, adjust the size. Boom. So we're done with our first graph. It's like quite similar. It's actually the same with what we want to achieve. And then I want to introduce some more advanced concept that is the difference between the data. So as you can see, the data is separated into two categories. The first one is the blue one. So the blue represents the dimension. It's kind of categorical. So it's mostly the discrete data. So that means the data is non-aggregated and there's no values in between those values. And the green one is actually represents the measures that is most kindly or numerical data that is continuous. That means there's no limit for the values right here. Okay, great. So let's look at the second graph that we want to do is the sales and profit data. And then we want to compare our sales with the profit. This is the final goal that we want to achieve. So first, I would like to drag the sales into our columns, and then the products into rows. So actually, when you're doing this, you notice that the products right here is actually hierarchical. There's actually a hierarchy right here. So we can click on plus to know about this subcategory, and then we can keep on going. But actually, I'm not going to achieve the product name, that detail. So we can click the minus size right here to go back to the subcategory. And then actually it's a really powerful data that hierarchies make it easier for us to do some quickly analyze of our data. And then we can move on to the next step. We want, because the reason why we're doing this graph is to compare sales and profit. So actually we've got our sales right here. And how about profit? So actually the pre-attentive attributes can help us achieve it. So the pre-attentive attribute are actually like some visuals, like clues that we can get information easier from our eyes to the brain really quickly. So they can help us to identify the key information in the data. So actually the reason it's simple to achieve a pre-attentive in Tableau, we're using this mark mark cards right here. So actually the things that we want to do is to drag our profits into the color marks right here. So actually we can know that the orange one right here is kind of like losing money. Sad for tables. Okay, great. So actually we can click right here to sort the data to from for the cells and from high to low. And if you click it one more time, it will be low to high, and then we can click it to the original format and click it one more time, it will be sorted from high to low. Okay, great. So great. So actually, we can do something more advanced on that. So actually, I want to group this four stands into a group. So when I'm pressing Shift, I can easily select multiple subcategories for us, and then click this clip icon means group, and then it's actually grouped together. And then we can rename it by right-clicking and edit alias. We can rename it as maybe small supply. Okay. And then we could go back to sorting our data again. So we can see that the cells from high to low. So we actually finished the second part of our graph. Okay, great. So let's start our third graph. So this is the outcome that I want to achieve. It is a map graph. So in previous two graphs, we showed the way of dragging the columns, dragging those fields into the columns and rows by ourselves. But as also like Tableau desktop has a handy tool called Show Me right in the right top. And then if we choose the data, and then the Show Me could actually represent the suitable graph, represent the suitable graph for us. For example, when I click Show Me right now, we can see 24 different graphs, but it's not the limitation. This is also only some common graph, and you can create your own created graph to like manipulate the data on your own when you get more familiar with the Tableau. So first, to do the map graph, I would like to start with selecting the selecting the country right here. And you can see this is a little global icon. So that means it is geographic data, and then Tableau will automatically generate longitude and latitude for us. So it's really useful and it's really powerful. So then we would like to press Control Command that's on your computer, and then select the cells, and then click the Show Me on the right top. And then we can notice that the uh, Tableau actually recommend us with some useful data that based on the data that we selected. So actually, I would like to choose the symbol map. So after a click, we actually got the symbol map right here. And then on the mark size, we can, on the mark card, we can actually select our sizes. Something like this, anything you want. And then if you see these two labels right here, this is the recommended like range that Tableau suggests based on our data. So I will try to get the maximize on it. So I will recommend you always like choose anything between these two lines. Okay, then we can add the colors. For example, I would like to add some border, and I will also kind of add the opacity of it. Great. So actually, our map right now represent the total cells based on the circle sizes. However, we would like to compare it to the profit like previous graph. So actually the things I want to do is to drag the profit into the color. So right now, actually our color will represent our profit. The orange one will be the negative profit. That means that we are losing money, and orange is kind of stand out. So the blue and orange color palette is really useful and make you know like which part that you should be interested in. And also there is something interesting that we can click on here on the map tab and then choose the map layers. So actually we can choose how we want our graph to be. So normally it will be the light one. And then because I choose the street one before, and so it's actually provide me with the street mode of the map. And then we can choose the washout, like how we would like to our backgrounds, our maps to be washed out to become more transparent. And then if I choose 0, I think it's a little bit more captured in our data. So I will choose to increase some washout just to make our map more transparent. Okay, great. So actually we have achieved our goal. Right now you can see that it's exactly the same as our goal. Maybe we can increase the size a little bit. Okay, great. So right now we complete the search graph.
All right. Hello, everyone. And thank you to Maggie for getting us started on our analysis here. We're going to look even further at some profits and discounts for Global Superstore and bring all of our analysis together into a dashboard and then a Tableau story, which are great ways to share our findings with a large audience. So let's go ahead and start. We have a worksheet here with profits and discounts. Right now it's blank, but we're going to fix that. Let's drag our discount measure to the columns shelf and our profit measure to the rows shelf. And as you can see, Tableau has nicely set up our axes here. We have a single data point right now because it's just the sum of these two measures, but we can fix that as well. We'll drag customer name over to detail. And now that's broken down by individual customer. And we can drag product category over to shape. So now we have this broken down. If you mouse over these, you can see this is which customer, what they spent it on, what discount they got, and what the profit was. We have that broken down all those different ways, which is already super handy. But let's talk about the sum of the discount is not a great measure because we're looking at we want to make more intuitive sense to look at how much of a discount are they getting on average, right? So we'll go to our discount measure on the column shelf, change the measure from sum to average, and voila, there's a nice little average discount that we have for each of our customers. We can break this down further because 0.6 is not immediately intuitive as well. We can format that as a percent by clicking on the axis, going to format, and then numbers percentage. And look at that, Tableau has automatically given us what each of these percents are, and then people can kind of get a more intuitive sense of this. So that's kind of our basic scatter, but let's go ahead and add a little bit of analysis to that. So we're going to move from our data to our analytics tab, and we're going to look at different clusters. So clusters, Tableau will automatically group customers who have similar purchasing decisions. And we can look at profitability and average discount by these customer categories. So double click on cluster, and it creates these clusters of different customers, right? And we want to go ahead and make this for all of our customers. So we're going to remove the filter that was on here previously for the US. But great, now we're looking at all our global customers. We have 4 different clusters of those types of customers, and we can even go more specific and look at trend lines for each of these groups and see what kind of the relationship looks like, whether you're in clusters 1, 2, 3, or 4. So let's go ahead and include that trend line and look at that. We can see there's a different relationship between average discount and profit based on what kind of customer you are. If you mouse over these, you can even get a little bit more granular. We have the estimate of the linear relationship, right? And we have diagnostic measures like an R-squared and our p-value. And this one in particular is great. This is p is less than 0.05. So we know that is statistically significant. Let's go ahead and throw in average lines as well. That'll tell us, looking across all of our customers, regardless of category, what discount they get on average and what their profitability is. So throw that in nice and easy, and we have an average discount of 14.7%, followed by an average profit, or associated with an average profit of 615. So those are nice, quick at a glance measures you can use to kind of look at what your trends are across all sales. But that's nice and easy. That's kind of the worksheet we were looking at. We have trend lines, we have clusters, and then we have the individual data points, all of which are great. That's already named. We have that profit versus discount, so we're pretty much ready to use that. But let's bring that in conversation with our other pieces of analysis in a dashboard. So we're going to move over here to a blank dashboard, and we want to work on our finished analysis that Maggie helped us prepare, in addition to the profits versus discounts worksheet that we just generated. So let's drag the map onto our dashboard here. Notice it automatically, right, scales up to fit the space. We can adjust that manually, but that's a nice handy tool. We can drag our sales seasonality line chart over here to the right. Notice how that adjusts. Our sales and profits bar down to the lower left, and our newly created profits versus discounts scatter plot down here to the lower right. And look at that. At a glance, right, we have 4 different visualizations that are all viewable at the same time. So if you're a stakeholder, you're looking at a lot of information in a really economic way, right? Economy of space and time. Now we want to make these talk to each other. So what we can do is we can use as filter, and in just a moment, I'll show you what that does, but we want to make sure that that is true for all 4 of our visualizations here. But what that'll let us do is we can select something like tables, right? And now we're looking at a map of profitability of just table sales, right? And seasonality in just table sales. So by interacting with just one of our visualizations, we can actually bring that in conversation with all 4 visualizations here, which is a really key tool if we want to break things down, or we can select a country, right? Really, really helpful to do that. Excellent. So let's clean this up a little bit. We have a really great information on here, but we want to make sure it's legible to an audience. First things first, always helpful to add a title. So right now we've called this Global Superstore Sales and Profits. That tells you exactly what we're getting when we look at this chart, and your stakeholders are going to get that. It's nice and underlined, so it draws visual attention, but it's not too distracting or anything like that. Let's go ahead and clean up some of this as well. We can move some of our legends to floating, which allows them to exist anywhere on the sheet rather than in a rigid place. Move those a little bit closer to the visualizations that they are associated with. We can even scale those a little bit. And some of these might just be extraneous information, so we can go ahead and take those out. Category we want over here, floating with the profits and discounts visualization we generated earlier. And then we want to drag profits, an important one. It specifically references these two graphs, but it's probably the most important takeaway we want to get from this. So let's bring that up top by where the title is. And in fact, I'm going to resize this so it's long, so it's a nice horizontal, right? We have the label profit over here and then the color spectrum immediately to the right. So that's nice and intuitive. We also want to clean up this countries filter because right now this is really messy. No one wants to look at a checklist of 100 things. So we can do that as a single value dropdown. And now we can choose specific countries we want to interact with. So for instance, the United States. This will show us, right? And we want to apply to all worksheets using the data source. So now we're looking at seasonality, sales and profits versus discounts just for the United States. I'll go ahead and remove the region one. And we'll drag this country one. We'll make that floating as well. And drag that up top. So again, somebody interacting with the dashboard can just click up here by the title, and they'll be able to select, say, let's look at the UK, right? Boom, all of our views adjust instantly, nice and easy. We can also select all as kind of our default view, but that's looking great. That has all the interactivity we want it to, and it's a really useful interactive visualization. Again, tricky with floating. We want to make sure these don't spill over when the sizes adjust, but make sure you just lock those in. Otherwise, deselect. There we go. Perfect. So that is our dashboard here. That is all the information we want. Let's make this even more intuitive to our stakeholders and put this into a story. Okay, excellent. So we are set up here with a story. This allows us to combine, as I said, visualization views with specific captions, so we can really draw attention to insights we want our stakeholders to have. We're going to drag our dashboard over here. You can also do this with specific worksheets, but we'll start with the dashboard. And again, this is looking globally, right? We want to, deselect this line and make sure we're looking at all of our information. But the overall trend, you can see everything is pretty much good for right now. We have positive profitability in most areas. So let's put that as our first sort of at a glance thing. Overall sales and profits are healthy for Global Superstore. Great. That tells us immediately what we want our stakeholders to take away from it. We can expand that a little bit so that we're not losing text here, but boom, really nice, simple text tells us exactly what we want them to take away. Let's duplicate this, and then we want to look specifically at tables, because what we diagnosed earlier, right? Tables, when we go around to products here, tables are in the orange, the bad category, right, where they're not profitable. So we highlight tables like we did earlier, and this isolates tables in all 4 of our visualizations here. And we can go ahead and draw attention to that by changing our caption. However, tables are particularly profitable. Great. All right, we're going to duplicate this again because we're working with the same worksheet, same dashboard, that is. But this time, we're going to look at specifically table sales, right? So we're keeping that tables filter on, but table sales in the Netherlands. This is kind of one of the things, one of our extreme cases, but look at that. Look at how huge, right? We have enormous average discounts, 70%, and our average trend line is negative profits by a lot. And this is also broken down by the clusters we created earlier. But you could see over here as well on the map, profit is minus 2,000, which is bad. So let's talk about that. So in the Netherlands, discounts are high and profits are discounts, let's be clear about this, discounts on tables are very high and profits are very low, right? Drawing attention not just to the trend, but also to the magnitude of that trend relative to the rest of the world. And that, again, this story will freeze that view so that when someone views this in presentation mode, we'll be looking at just tables in the Netherlands. Lastly, we're going to go ahead and create a new blank story point, even though we're going to end up drawing from the same dashboard, but we'll start from scratch just to make this nice. Drag over our dashboard here as well. And we want to look at India specifically, right? And deselect this, all right. And we'll notice in all product categories, right, we're seeing a profit in India. So let's go ahead and talk about that. And we also note down here in our profits and discounts, right, the average discount in India is really low. It's 1.9%. And our average probability is positive. So we want to bring other countries more in line with sales in India, which has low discounts and consistent profitability. Nice and easy. And we can even see if we were to go to story, or if we were to go to window presentation mode, right, we can tab through each of these views individually, and the what will be displayed will match the insight that we're talking about. So this is a really effective way to communicate with stakeholders. I'm going to go ahead and rename that title to Global Salesforce Story. That updates our title as well. That is ready to go out. So we can do server and share. If we were on a business server, we can share it to our server, or we can go to Tableau public and save to Tableau public. That's another way that we can publish this out into the world and have people, stakeholders interact with it. But yeah, as we've seen, dashboards and stories are a great way to bring analysis together from a variety of different views, and make sure that those are linked so we can link conclusions about one country to another, or look at trends within a country, across countries, etc. These are all some of the many great tools that Tableau has to really synthesize our analysis and bring that to a really readable, intuitive format for our stakeholders.